here's the bit.ly. I put it in the chat, so hopefully you guys have access to it now. And then this is what I was taking you through. You will have resources on the slide deck. I'm going to populate this for you. That's what I was talking about. And then for G Suite core applications, it says these specific ones are, now you could see the right here, the ones that I was talking about, for what is covered under the COPA and FERPA laws. So we'll be practicing Google Drive and Google Docs today. So now everyone's on the same page. Thank you. All right, awesome. This is just a little bit of information about core services, just so you have access and you were like, wait, I didn't know that these were covered for the COPA and FERPA laws. You can definitely share this with other teachers or your tech director saying like, hey, these ones are safe for our kids to use. We can totally use these. And if you don't know what Jamboard is, for example, I can totally talk about it as well. All right, so what I was explaining before on the slide deck, the teacher resources, I went into this information. So you have in Google a specific training section where they'll take you the step-by-step per specific document, or like slides and documents in Classroom, but also other ways of using them and how you can connect. Then the other support products, you'll see how you can easily find or download a file, for example, or share your files. So I added these links right here on the slide deck, so it's really easy access for you. Again, here's the spreadsheet tutorial, apps that connect with Google Classroom. You'll get all of these on the slide deck when we're working. All right, so I'm gonna jump into Google Drive, and if you wanna follow along with me, feel free to. So a couple ways to get there. The easiest way for me is if I already see myself logged into Google or Gmail or however you get connected, I have this little Rubik's Cube over here on the top right where I can select on one of the icons. So I'm gonna select on Google Drive. If you don't see that on your new tab when you open that up, you can easily type in the product, drive.google.com, and it will take you right into your Google Drive. So super easy to do. And hopefully you're able to navigate there easily with me. So maybe if you need to make your screen a little bit smaller, I just pull in my Chrome like this so that I can watch what's happening. And then if you pull the tab down and to the right, you can actually see two things at once. So you could see me maybe on your left or right, and then you can kind of play in your Google Drive on the other side. So that's how Chrome works, by just jumping in and pulling the tabs up and over. So if you're trying to navigate with me, then that might be a little bit more helpful. So a reminder that I'm on a laptop. So if you're trying to use this on a phone or an iPad in your Google Drive, a lot of these buttons look a little different. Sometimes you have to kind of click around and find things, and not all the features will be the same. So keep that in mind as you're going through. Okay. So first off, just to show you around so it makes a little bit more sense, priority is like a new feature that you can turn on and turn off. It shows you the main things that you've been working on. So it'll just kind of click around and you can find those top things. But even though it's on the top menu bar, it doesn't mean that you can click and move it into another folder. And that's what's tricky about Google Drive, is sometimes you just can't click and move things around. And I'm sure you felt that pain before. I hear you. My Drive is where you can click and move things around, because this is your world where you can manipulate it. To the left of My Drive, you have a little arrow, and you should be able to easily see all the folders that you created. So if you created folders, or if you would like to start, you hit New, and then just click on that top one where it says New Folder right up here. And let's say I call this Science. You'll see it at the top of mine right here, but you'll also see it over here on the left. Now, as I'm navigating through this window, a lot of people say, well, I don't see the folders at the top and all these extra icons at the bottom. I can easily switch that over here on the right-hand side between list view and grid view. And a lot of people might be on list view because it makes more sense. They like to see it alphabetical or when it was last modified. But for today's purpose, I like to see the grid view, just so you can see all my folders, and it makes it a little bit like easy to access. All right. So as you create folders, and I work with lots of students, and it makes a little bit more sense to them if everyone has a math folder that's red, because a lot of times it's easier for me to find that red folder than try to search for all the words. So to change the color, I just created science, for example. I would click on it, and when you select the folder, it gives you more options in the top right. So there's this little share link that we're going to be practicing between these two buttons, the trash can to obviously remove it. And the 3 dots gives you a whole bunch more options. So that's what I'm going to click. So I'm going to hit 3 dots. And then right here is where I have all these features for my folder. I can move this science folder into another folder and make it a subfolder if you decide to. I can rename it. I can star it, which makes over here, if I hit star, it's going to show up over here. It's kind of like a favorite button. I don't use that often. And then here's the color feature. So maybe if I make science always green and all my students go to the science green folder, it's just more of accessibility. Like I see the green, I can get to it really quickly. So it's just one of those features that we try to set up all students at the beginning of the year. One of those little tips that we try to do. Okay, so I have all my different folders. If I have files already saved in my Google Drive, I can select on it. So I can tell that I selected on a file by it turning blue. I can hold down Control or Command. It depends on what kind of computer you have. If you have a Mac, you just hold down Command, and you can select more files. As you can see, mine are turning blue with the little title. It's kind of like a highlighting the title. And I can grab those and drag them into one of those. You can see how, when I'm dragging, it says, hey, do you want to put all 4 of these files into science, for example? If you're not very good at dragging, which a lot of us are not, when you select them, you can hit the 3 dots and then just say move to, and then choose the folder you want it to move to. And it says, okay, do you want to put it in science? Sure. And I just click it and say move. You can easily do that too. So that's kind of a way to start organizing your world. This is your Google Drive. It's personal to you unless it's been shared and you decided to share it. If you didn't know you shared it, well, I'll show you that next. Don't worry. Okay, so easily being able to create these folders makes it a little bit easier to navigate. Some teachers like to easily create a folder and share that folder with students. So I'm going to show you that. So I'm going to click on art, for example, and when I select it, I have an option with a little guy with a little plus. I call him the share guy. So I'm going to hit him, click him, and you should have a window that looks similar to mine, which could be familiar to you if you're used to it. So a lot of times people will put in an email. And when you plop in all those emails, that could take forever. You don't have to do that every time. You can easily copy and paste things, but we can also get a shareable link, and I'll explain that in a second. So first off, I put in an email. I choose the rights of what those people get. So maybe I want certain people to be able to edit the folder, or if I want them to view it, I choose view only. So they just have access to check it out. I can also choose to make an email to them. So if they have an email account that I'm sending this to, I can say, here is the folder to put your homework in. So I can easily access that and they would get that email. If you don't need to have an email, you just want to share it with like a colleague or whatever, you can just uncheck this box and it just goes right into their Google Drive. It doesn't give them an email saying that they have something new, okay? So that's the first feature. I'm just going to click send so that you can see that person will get added. There we go. So if you notice now, when I hit art and I shared it with something, there's a little person on the folder now. So these are private folders to me. The little person means that it's shared with someone. So it kind of already tells you, hey, pay attention to this one. This is one you already shared. Okay, so I'm going to click him and hit the share guy again so you can see some features. So now it tells me it is shared with other people. I can click this. This is an actual button and it says get shareable link. So right within here, I can easily copy this link just by clicking this button and pasting it right now. It'll give those people that I gave access to that link. So I can post that in an email. I can post it on a website. But the thing is if you notice, it says anyone at Knowing Technologies, or it might say anyone at your school, or at whatever school you're working at. So if you wanted to give your school, like all the students in your school, view access to this folder, then you would make sure it says anyone at your school can view this link, and then they would have access to like all the art projects, for example, in that folder. Right here, you can easily change it and say, I want them to be able to edit the folder, or actually I wanted that folder to be private and only have access to me and the people that I emailed that have whatever specific rights. I can change it there. But there's also another button down here, which is advanced. So I'm going to click that button down here. And now you will see that I sent Crystal Hall this access that they can view it. But if you look to the next where it says view, this is a really cool feature. I can set an expiration date and say, well, this person, she can have access for whatever amount of time that I decide, and I can give them specific access for like 1 day, 30 days, whatever that may be, and then it shuts them off, which is kind of cool. I can also, which I just did, is I hit the X, which was right beside it. I'll show you that one more time. See right here, over here on the right. Let's say we're no longer friends. I don't want you to have access to my information. I hit the X and I hit save, and it bumps them out. They no longer have access. All right, I just hit cancels to make sure that they that doesn't save. I also have a button down below for a folder that has more features. So if I check this little box, this is really handy. It says they cannot send it to new people. I'm only allowed to send it to more people. If I had it private to my domain, they can't send it to parents, for example. They do have, I mean, they could obviously take a screenshot, so keep that in mind if you had specific things you wanted to keep private. So I usually just try not to share things that have that student data information on it. Okay, so now let's say I have this folder, I sent out the link, I posted it on the website, but then I was like, oh no, my parents don't have access and I meant to do that. You do not have to send out a new link or post a new link. You just have to come in here and hit that advanced button that I just showed you, click on change, and then now you can easily change it to either this one if you want, or the public. It's totally up to you. They're pretty similar. It's whoever you give the link to, or it's just public and they can just share it if you want. And now it's public. Anyone can view. If you want to change it to edit or add to the folder, you can totally do that as well. Okay, so that kind of gives you the basics of sharing, and that's for all Google products. You can share folders, you can share those slide presentations, Google Docs, Google Drawings, whatever it may be. So that's how you would easily change it right within the sharing settings. Hit save and you're good to go. You do not have to send out another link saying, okay, now it should work. You just hit that change button and it should be ready to go. Okay. Questions on the sharing settings, put it in the chat or turn on your microphone and let me hear them if you have any. Nothing yet? Awesome. Hopefully it's making sense. Okay. All right, so I have all my folders. I'm going to plop that down so you can see everything. So we went over the basics of My Drive. Anything can be saved in My Drive. It doesn't matter what kind of file. You can save music, you can save videos, you can save Microsoft or PDFs. You can have Google documents in there. So you can save anything out of it. So think of it as like one of those little USB things that you plug into your computer and you carry around and then you lose it. You don't need to do that anymore. If you save it in Google Drive, you can open up an iPad, log into your Gmail account, and you'll have access. You can log into someone else's computer if you forgot your computer and log in and then find your information, print it or share it however you need to, and you always have access. You don't have to have that little USB drive anymore. So get rid of it. All right, so that's the basics of My Drive, all of yours. Shared Drive, I know, is madness, and everybody, so Shared Drive, if you have it turned on, it just depends. Some schools don't. Shared Drive is kind of like a world where you can create files and not one person is the owner of it. That's really helpful in like departments where you're creating curriculum or you're sharing information. So that's where you can kind of plop information where someone actually left your school and there's no owner, so they're not taking their files with you. You'll still have access. Is there a limit of what things you can save? If you're using a school account like Google for Education and they created a Google for you, there is unlimited storage, which is awesome. If you're using one for your home account, over here on the left will tell you, I think it's up to either 15 or 17, I can't remember if it's 15 or 17, but gigabytes. And that's based off of all of your storage. So you can see when I click on it, it's telling me like what are my like highest things, my screen recordings, for example. So good question. But yeah, so just keep an eye, like depending on which access you have, if you're using your home Google or if you're using your school, you have unlimited, which is amazing. Okay, so there's shared drives. You can totally build those up with Teams if you decide to. A lot of administrators like to use that, so it's easy to have just folders that you build in for curriculum and things like that and professional development. Shared with me, everyone has, and they're like, this is a hot mess. How do I find anything? And I understand. And if you've been using Google for a while, they've actually changed some of the way that it's set up. So prior, if I took this document, clicked on it, and moved it into one of my folders, for example, then it actually took it out of, let's say this is Emily's document, it took it out of her folder and put it in mine, and she no longer have access to it, which was crazy. And we were like, you cannot do that anymore. So they changed it, but now it kind of drives people crazy because they're like, I can't find anything, which I totally understand. So what I like to do, obviously I use the search if you know what the file, like, and I'll help you with the search in a minute, because that's what Google's known for, is just searching things. But I also can help manage things up here. So if I click on this seesaw icons and I hit the little drive button, so if you have a folder here, it's not the same, but when I select it and hit drive, then I can actually plop this into, for example, my science folder, and it's organized. It's like a quick little shortcut to this file, but I didn't take the file from her. So when I pop over to my drive in the science folder, that will be there. Super easy. So I easily can find access to that. Then I can start selecting as many as I want by just selecting them. I can populate them and put them in whatever folder I need to. So yes, you can organize this world if you need to. The only thing is if Emily no longer gave me access to that document, then it'll just disappear from my folder. So keep that in mind. If I really needed that seesaw document, for example, I could easily make a copy of it if she gave me that right. So let's look into science. Let me see. So if I click on here, select the file, and sometimes it says make a copy. So this one does. You can actually turn that off with Google Documents if you don't want people making copies, but this one, Seesaw, good job, Seesaw. It does let me make my very own copy. It's all mine. It's not shared with anyone else. It says it's creating a copy. So it'll pop it right in here. So when I select and open it up, here's my file. It's all my own. I don't have to worry about her taking it away from me, which I know this is a public document, so I don't have to worry about her taking it away from me, but it's nice to have. I can definitely make a copy. But the only thing is if you do make a copy and they make updates on the first document, then you won't get those updates. So keep that in mind. It's just trial and error, as we all know, okay? Recent, everyone loves recent. It's just basically the recent files that you've been working on and who's been working on it. So if other people have been working on it, you'll see that. One of my favorite things though, and not just in recent, but anywhere in Google Drive, is when you select on a file. So like this last file that I was working on, if I come over here on the top right, remember I showed you the grid view versus the list view, there's a little eye with a circle, and that means the information, the details of that one document. I love this feature, because when I click on it, not only does it tell me details, it tells me who it's shared with, who has access. It tells me my location of the file, which is amazing. I'm like, oh, that's where I put that. Sometimes we stick them in folders and we never can find them again, right? All right. And then it tells me like how large the file is and what have you. The nice thing about it too is the activity, and this is great for students. When you click on activity, I can see the last time that they actually edited the file. So I can say, oh, 9/29, you're on the file. Oh, I say, look who gave access to who. So I can actually tell if a student shared the file with someone else and they weren't supposed to. And it goes through that date by date and on the time. So you have access to all the information of those files as you go. Okay, so that's by just selecting the file and clicking the little eye in the top right. All right, so hopefully that's a little bit more helpful. Now, like I was saying, Google is known for searching. So up here at the search, of course, I can just type in Google Basics, for example, the last file I was working on, and it's going to give me a couple files right here. That's not super helpful. Don't select on any of those, because if it's not one of those 4 or 5 files, then if I hit return, for example, it should give me every single file that has Google Basics in it, the word, the title, whatever it is. But let's say that doesn't help you at all, okay? Come to the right-hand side of it. Next to the X, there's a little drop-down menu. And a lot of people usually don't see that little drop menu. It's right over here, okay? When you click it, now I really have some more search features, which is amazing. So I can choose, do I remember, was it a PDF? Was it a document? Was it a presentation? Yes. Was it a folder? Who knows? Was it owned by me? This I use a lot, because a lot of times I'm like, I know I made this document, but I can't find it, all right? Did I put it in trash? Perhaps. What was the last time I modified it? So you have all these features. I know it has the word Google Basics, but that didn't help me at all. I know that I shared it with the director, so I can put the director's name in here, and I'm like, oh, Jim, I know I shared it with Jim. Where is that specific file? So when I hit search, then it kind of narrows down the search for me, which is a little bit nicer, okay? So far, so good. All right, other features before we move on, over here on the left-hand side, that new button. So we learn how to create a new folder. Right underneath it, you can select file upload and start backing up all of your files into Google Drive rather than using that little USB file if you're a Microsoft user, or if you have PDFs like crazy, feel free to put them in there as well. So definitely start uploading and backing up your things, because if your computer crashed today, you want to make sure you still have your files. So that's why I always say back up your stuff, because it happens all the time, okay? Underneath that, then we have Google products. So Google Docs is just your basic word processing document. If you come over to the right of it, you can easily click on blank document, or they have these awesome templates that teachers are already using. There's like scheduling and like whatever, resumes, anything you want. They're already pre-made for you. Of course, there's Google Sheets, just like an Excel spreadsheet. There's Google Slides, like a PowerPoint, if you're looking for something like that. And you might be asking, well, why would I want to use Google Slides versus a PowerPoint? Well, what I love about it is that shared feature. So I can send out a Google document or a Google slide, and more than one person can work on it together. So a lot of times I'll send out a slide deck to my whole class, and I'm like, okay, Julie, you have number 1, Matt, you have slide 2. And so each student would have one slide, and they kind of build their own activities on there, and then we present it all together, which is really nice to have in distance learning. So slide 1, we're talking about this math problem. Google Assignments a little bit different, and that's based on if you have, I'm just looking at the chat room, Google Assignments different if it's like connected with Canvas or whatever learning management system you're using. It's not built within here, so that would be another shared topic. So add that to our list for tutorials. Another question came in, if a student shares a doc with me and I delete it from my drive, will it delete from theirs too? No, good question. So they're the owner of it, it doesn't delete from theirs. You just removed it from your world. And sometimes it's nice because you can kind of clean up the past shared with me's. Like if you had an art project and you had all these things from like 2015, you can just select all of them and delete them. They just delete from your world, not from theirs, don't worry. No worries. I'm just watching you guys chat. Good. All right. So definitely the collaborative features with these Google products are amazing. That's why I would suggest them. There's so many cool features. Underneath more, a lot of people don't realize there's so many amazing more things here. Google Forms, if you have not done an assignment through Google Forms, a survey, a quiz, that is one of the best features that I love. I use these all the time. So if you need a class on that, do let us know. It's an amazing tool. Google Drawings is more than just word art. You can do like timelines on it. There's all these cool features. We've taught math on it, showing them shapes and geometry. There's some really cool things built within there. My Maps, students create their own actual map. It's kind of like you're looking at Google Maps, and they can make their own location, connect the dots and make a path. When I lived in Boston, they were doing the Boston Trail, and they created their own map and then shared it. It's collaborative. It's really cool. Of course, you can build your own website. These are very basic tools. Pretty much anyone can do a Google site. Think of portfolios. What is your end of the year looking like? You can have them put documents and pictures and create their own easy website. I mean, I've had 2nd and 3rd graders do this super easy. And then I have all these extra things that you might not have. So if you needed to create signatures, for example, or if you wanted some cool things like Pear Deck or Nearpod, I just hit connect more apps. And if your administration gave you access, then you would easily be able to add those to this single sign-on world. All right, question coming in. My school doesn't use Google Classroom. Can I use a Google form like Classroom and still have spreadsheet created? Yes, you can. Google Form is not Google Classroom. So even if you don't have Google Classroom, you can use Google Forms all day long. And it creates not only all the information in bar graphs and pie charts, but it also does use a spreadsheet. So you can definitely do that. Create a workspace in the priority. Oh yeah, can I talk about create a workspace in priority? Sure. So priority up here, these workspaces. So this kind of is like a bookmark world of all the documents. And a lot of people were talking about this before. So if I hit create workspace, I'm just going to call this science project, for example. So here, let's say that I have all these files that have to do with my science project that I've been building and putting together. It basically makes shortcuts, and I'd have all these files built right within here, kind of like bookmarks in this one workspace. So that's what I would do. So I can click on the science project and I would see a list of all those files right there in the workspace. So, and I can keep adding on here if I needed to. So I can hit view workspace. I can add some more files, and I can just start searching my drive. So let's say that, let's see if I just start adding all these different ones so you can kind of get an idea. And I hit insert. All right, and then I hit done. You'll see my new workspace. So let's say all these files were for my science project. That kind of like bookmarks them all together so I don't have to go searching for them. To me, it's kind of like a folder. If you like, I think it just depends on your workflow for Workspace. I like putting all these things in folders so I can find them next year, because Workspaces, I've noticed they just don't stay there as long as I want them to. I don't know the time length. I would have to look into that. But, oh, and there's 25 limit for files, which that's kind of annoying too. Like, I like to have as many files as I want because I keep adding more and more things to that project. So hopefully that helps with Workspace. Okay. Awesome, good questions. So we have the search down, we have the basics of Google Drive. We're actually gonna pop into Google Docs and create a new one. So I can easily come over here and create a blank document. So I'm gonna pop into here. Here's my new document. Feel free to join me. And again, you can go from Google Drive to create your Google Doc, but if I just have a new web page open and I type in docs, because that's the product, .google.com, it'll just create right from the beginning. So it'll take you into this window. They're like, do you want a blank one or do you want one of these really cool templates? Totally up to you, but it takes you there. That's how you start a new one. And these are all just my documents right here, okay? In Google Doc world. So on the far left, there's a blue square. That's your home button just for Google Docs. And I was just there. So I'm going to click it. You just saw this screen, okay? It takes you to all of your documents and you see Google Docs, you might see Microsoft Docs, but some people are like, this looks weird. I thought it was Google Drive. It's not, it's just where your document, your word processing documents are. If you want a Google Drive, you hit this little pancake menu on the left and you can go into either all of your presentations, all of your Excels, or you can just go right into Drive if you chose to. So it kind of separates them all out, which is kind of handy, okay? All right, up at the top, once I title this test, for example, feel free to do it. And I'm going to hit return. As soon as I hit return, Google Docs automatically saves. So I never have to worry about saving it. Even if my computer, I close it, I'm like, oh no, I forgot to save that. Or I unplug it and it shut down, it saves. So you don't have to worry. If I hit the little star next to the word, that means it's making it a favorite in Google Drive. So remember when I was telling you, here's all these little star guys right here, my bookmarks, my favorites, I can easily star it right here if I need to. Next to that, I tell all of my teachers and all of my students, click on this folder, because this folder lets you organize it right away. I can either plop it into an existing folder or I can add a new folder right from here. Maybe in science, I want to have a subfolder. And so I clicked on science, hit a new folder, test science folder, for example. I hit move here, it's there. And if you don't believe me, we can go check it out. I know you don't believe me, do you? All right, so when you pop into my drive, oh, mine's deciding to take a little bit. Come on, buddy. Let's see if it'll work today. There we go. Science. I clicked on the folder. We should see a subfolder. Here it is. And then I should see my test document. See, I told you. All right, so test document is here. So we have the normal formatting features. So I can easily format all across my toolbar. The toolbar is all up here, just like you would at any word processing, okay? Other really cool features. So when you go to File, this share is the same as that big blue button over here on the right. So you can choose to come here. If you like to go in the File menu, I just click the blue button. It's the same thing. You can easily make a copy of a file, same thing that we did in Google Drive. So let's say that you had this whole entire document and you wanted to make the exact same document for another class, class B period. You just make a copy, change the title, you're done. Pretty amazing, save some time. You can easily download this file. So maybe you needed this file. A lot of schools, like colleges, for example, are like, I need this as a PDF. You can type it all in Google Docs, download it as a PDF if you need to. You can publish it to the web. You have all these cool features. Email, for example, right here. You can easily share this and attach it as an email. It's totally up to you. Version history is really handy, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. Rename, you don't have to hit rename down here. You can just click on the title and just say new test, and then it's renamed. Super easy. Move it if you needed to move it. One of my other favorite things is page setup way down at the bottom. So if I hit page setup, this is where it lets you change to landscape and the paper size and what have you. A lot of times I like to change the color. And why would I do that? So this is kind of like a step process. When we're back into the classroom, if you see that all the kids are on a green document, you know they're on step 1 as you're just walking around the class. And if they move on to the blue document, that you know they're on step 2. So you can kind of bounce around and see like what color of the page they're on. So just kind of workflow things that we've shared throughout the years. Those kind of things are super handy. Question coming in. I want to teach diagramming sentences in English. Is a basic Google Doc my best practice for students drawing lines, or does Google Drawing work? I would suggest for drawing lines, I would either use Google Presentation, the slides, the yellow one, because you can still have your sentence and then you can put your underlines and circles and things like that around it, definitely. Or Google Drawings, totally. I just like the presentation because it does both. So totally up to you what you want to do. You can also insert a drawing from here if you wanted to have your document, but have a little bit of both worlds. So I can actually click on here, type something. This is a sentence, for example. Let's make that a little bit bigger for my kids. So here I'm still in Google Docs. I can still draw and underline things if I need to. So I'm just kind of playing around with it. I can add shapes, for example, if I needed to, things like that. Obviously, I don't want it to be blue, but I want it transparent. So if I added a drawing, that populates right into my Google Doc. So I just went into insert drawing and then created a new one. So you can totally do that right within here and still be within your doc if you don't want to bounce around into other spaces yet. Okay. So we went into, no worries, file, and we have all these different features. Now I was just talking about version history. So I'm just going to type a little bit. Let me move this because this is my little drawing. Today is Tuesday. I love dogs. I'm just typing so that you can see the version history if you've never seen that before. Let me format a little bit. Okay. So I can go to file version history where I was before, but also I have this feature because so many people are using version history that they have this button right here. So it says everything's been saved. I didn't do anything to save it. But if I click this button, it pops into all the changes that I've made. And I used to love this when I was teaching French because I can see how long it took students to write a paragraph, or did they copy and paste things in? If they were working with partners, how often did those partners contribute and what did they contribute? So it would show their name when they logged on, and you can see this is highlighted. That's what I typed at 10:15 a.m. So you can kind of see it bit by bit of how I inserted things. If there was another student that popped into this, then you would see their work as well, okay? So I'm actually gonna hit share, just like I showed you guys before, and make it public. Just in case you want to play, because I can show you the version history, and I'm also going to have you do some, let me put this in the chat. Bing. There you go. So now this is a public. You guys should be able to access this, and I'm going to show you, if you actually click the link, what it looks like. So since it's public, when you pop onto that, it should work. Yep, there you go. I see people populating. If I send this just to people in my school that have the same login, so maybe it's mayfieldsenior.org, for example, if everyone had that login and it's not public, these little icons, you can see my little friends up here in the top right, I would see which student is where. So I can actually say like, oh, this is Julie, not the anonymous walrus or anonymous frog. I would see the actual students right here. And if this student was typing down here, around I love dogs, I can click on their face and see where exactly they are in the document. Since it is this public document, I have no control of who is where and what. So I can't tell who this frog is, for example, and who's typing it. So keep that in mind when you create these documents. If it's public and you want them to edit, they won't be able to see who's doing what in the version history, okay? So I can see a couple people on there. And if those people stay on, you can totally play with this document in a second, because we're going to play with images next in a little bit, okay? All right, a couple more menus. So our edit menu, super basic. You can easily find and replace. You're used to those kind of things. But I wanted to make sure you saw some of the really cool features besides the insert drawing that I showed you. You can easily do insert table. You can select how big you want that table. You just keep scrolling over and you can populate that. And you can still select parts of the table. If you wanted to right click, you have more features in the table. So I can merge rows if I want the kids to populate certain sections or colored certain sections, super easy. Insert image, I love. So obviously you can upload things from the web or from your computer. So if you're on my document, feel free to add images from onto my document, because we're just playing here. But I'm gonna hit insert from the web, and you're gonna see this little search image bar over here on the right. So I didn't have to go out into Google or any other world and start searching for images. I can just type dog right here and it's populating, okay? So let's say that I chose this little guy, I selected him. I can either, I think it has insert, but my microphone's in the way. Yep, there it is. Okay, so I select the dog I want, hit insert. Wherever my cursor was, it should put that dog right in there. So if you want to add some to here so you can manipulate that document, you can. You had to request access. No, it should be public. You're probably just not logged into Gmail, I'm thinking. If it says sign in up here, then you shouldn't have to. Let me just double check the link from my side. Nope, I'm on another account, and you should be able to just pop right on. So maybe you have to sign into Google. Let me see if that works. It's saying the same for you. Are you guys logged on? Request edit access. Oh, okay, let me check. Maybe that's why. Sorry. Oh yeah, look. See, you guys are already testing the theory. I have you on view. So I didn't have to resend the link. I'm just clicking it. I'll click advanced, and let's make sure you can edit. Oh, here we go. I didn't make you editors. My bad. Good job. You guys are checking me. All right. So edits, try refreshing your page and see if that works. Refresh. And let's see if you're in. You guys are logged in. That was my bad. You're just testing me. Good job, guys. All right. So now you should have edit access. Yes. Can you insert images? I'm just checking the chat to see where you're at. Oh, we got more people on. Mark says known. I wonder what's going on with Mark's. Let's see. So I have it as edit. Anyone else able to insert? Maybe down here? Just curious. You don't see it? I cannot edit. That's weird, because it says that everyone should be able to edit. Let me just check it. So anyone on the internet can edit. You guys do have access. So you should just be able to pop on. So I'm just gonna reshare it just in case. I mean, you should be able to, so that's really interesting. Oh, someone did get on, yay! Someone did a cat. Okay, let me see. Let me see if he popped in. Oh, you got a cat. Oh, that's cute. All right. Well, it looks like it's working for some. Try refreshing your page. To refresh it, up in the top URL, if you just select the URL and hit return or enter or hit this backwards arrow, that should let you in. Oh, yay. Now you guys are getting in. I bet you just had to refresh, because sometimes if you don't refresh, it just stays locked. It's kind of weird. Okay. So if you found an image, I'll click on that again. Insert image from the web, search for anything, and then select and add it, yay, down below. Because I'm gonna have you play with the images before we get off, because there's some cool features in there. So I'm gonna select on my dog picture. And as you can see with the dog picture, I can easily just make it smaller by dragging those blue squares in. I just clicked on it and pulled. I'm just dragging my fingers on my trackpad. Oh, I see a dog. It looks like someone took over my dog. Okay, those are hilarious. Okay, so I selected the picture, and I'm just watching you guys move these dogs around. It's so funny. Okay, so you can easily like play with these images. As soon as you select and click on the image, you have a new toolbar up here on the right. So you can see that you can change the border. I'm gonna make mine blue. I can change the thickness of the border. I can make it dotted and dashed if I want. There's also a crop image. So you can also double click on the image if you wanted. I'm gonna actually take off the border so you can see my cropping. So when you double click the image, you should see like black in the top corners and bottom corners and on the edges. That means you can pull in from those black lines and crop the image however you want. So you don't have to have fancy Photoshop. You can just crop it and then your image is ready. So maybe you just wanted the dog's head, for example. I just pull those in, hit return, and I'm done. So try double clicking on your animal. Oh, I see some funny ones, fish and your dogs. Oh, there's another fish, good. So I want you to double click it so you can get those black lines and see if you can crop them as you go, especially this crazy big dog, because he's taking up a whole page. So you wouldn't want to do that normally when you're in class. You don't want, well, most likely take them up in the whole page. Also, when you select on the animal, you can see that this is in line with the text, but maybe you don't want that. Maybe you wanted to wrap the text or break the text. You can play with those underneath. So select it and you'll see this little toolbar. So if I hit wrap text, then I can move him around and put him anywhere I want, which is so handy. He's not in line anymore. So I can plop him up here. I'm just moving him any way I want because I selected the dog, and I clicked on the middle one, which let me wrap the text around the image. So now I have a little bit more features built right within. So you can kind of just manipulate things as you want. Super easy to use, okay? There's other options with adjusting and recoloring if you had another image. That's all up here at the top. And if you need to change the image, you totally can, or you can just click and delete it. It's totally up to you, okay? So that's just basic features of editing images or those text boxes like this one that I created because it was a drawing. Similar features, I can put a bold text box around it if I wanted, right? Other things, Google Jamboard be used for in class. Jamboard, I'll talk to you in 1 second. So right within here, I just wanted to make sure that you know, if you select something that's being written, so I'm thinking of this assessment piece, you sent out a document, students are writing, and now you want to give them some feedback. If you select on the word like Tuesday, you can see a little bubble popping up on the word, or you can hit this little comment bubble up on the top share. So that lets you write to the student, it is Monday, for example, and you can comment on the document. So I can just populate it. There's a little comment now on the right. And if you're on my live document, you'll see that. Another thing that I like to do in the comment button is if you hit plus and the person's email, you can actually assign them a question like, what do you mean? Especially like in group work. If I hit assign and then assign that, whenever you hit the plus with the email, it sends the person an email. Because unless they open up the document, they don't know, unless you're in Google Classroom, that you added comments. So I love doing the little plus within an email, because now Crystal Ho just got an email saying, what do you mean about this one section of the work, for example? Hi, Mark, I see your comment. Then as you're going through, the student can easily check off and say, hey, this is done. And I can go through each one. And some of them mark it off and you're like, this is not done. So if I hit the comment bubble and I can hit reopen and I can say, nope, and I can add them another note, this is not done. So you can kind of go back and forth with that comment feature. Also, you might be used to redlining in Microsoft. Nice line. So when I select something, I could still redline, but it's greenlining in Google Docs. Over here's pen mode. So see this little pen in the far right? The pen right now, we're all editing, but I can make you guys suggest or just switch to view. I can check out all these different features. So if I hit suggest, then when I start typing, it's crossing out and redlining the words, and it's also making a comment. So if a student clicks on the checkbox, that'll go right into the document and delete what they had, or they can hit X and say, no, this is really what I wanted. So I'm gonna hit checkbox because I put typing over top of today because that's what was highlighted. See how it deleted everything? So you have those features built within. Yes, I can show the plus for comments again. So I'm gonna select a word. I'm gonna select on dogs, for example, hit the comment bubble, plus new comment. You can do it that way. Or when you select it, you should see a little bubble just pop right up over here on the right. So when I hit the comment bubble, I hit plus person's name. So I just type in the full email. What do you mean? Add your question. And then I can hit assign. As soon as I hit assign, done, okay? And then it sends it right to them. Good. All right, there's some basics. You have the share feature like we've talked about. You can check out all the changes in Drive, your editor, so you can play with that button at the top. Add-ons are more features that you can build right into your Google document. As soon as you add it once, it'll stay there. I love math type. If you're a math or science teacher, I would add that one by just hitting get add-ons and search for any add-ons you want and add them and check them out. You can always delete them if you wanted to right here on manage. One of the last questions. So what would give Google Jamboard be used for? So Jamboard's another product. Jamboard lets you actually draw and insert images, and it's kind of like a presentation whiteboard that you can actually manipulate with drawing. So math and science are using those a lot. Art's using it. It depends on if you need to actually manipulate. Rather than paying for a tool, it's totally free in your Google world. So hopefully that makes more sense. Okay. So lots of great questions today. When I put comment and the student resolves it, when I check it later, I don't know what the question is. Tracy, do you want to pop on your microphone so I can understand what you're saying? Maybe.
There. Hello. Good morning.
Hey, good
So
morning.
we have two teachers here.
Okay, my question is, when I put a comment for the student to do editing on it, and then I go back later and they've resolved it, and I don't know if they've caught it or not.
Gotcha. So if they didn't catch it, you can totally check. You can open up the comments like I showed you, hit reopen and see if they changed it, or you can go to their version history and see if they actually changed it in that version history.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What was the other question?
That was it.
Okay.
That was it? Oh, okay, awesome. All right, and then lastly, where do you find today's session? So here's all my information. So you can definitely email me with more questions or what else you want to learn about so I can make that class online for you. You can scan this QR code. It gives you all of our sessions plus this one, or you can just type in the bit.ly KT Spark 323, which was the beginning of last week. And it gives you presentations from the beginning to the end because you'll have access to all of them. Is there a Pear Deck tutorial coming up? I think we added it to the list. I have to check. I don't think there's a tutorial yet, but definitely email it in to either me or the info@knowingtechnologies and we'll add it. And someone said Jamboard ? So people are like, what is Jamboard? So quickly, before I head out, you can easily find your Jamboard over here or just go to jamboard.google.com. This is the web version. They started with an app. If you download the app on your tablet, on your phone, it has a few more features that I love. But basically, you can use this for taking notes, actually writing notes. You have pen features, erase features. You have all these features. You have Post-its if you want students to make a Post-it, kind of like Padlet. They can insert images if you want them to. On the tablet or phone, there's more features like assistive drawing, adding files from Google Drive, things like that. Okay? All right, woo, you guys made it. I'm impressed. So definitely contact me if you have any questions. But thank you guys for spending an hour with me. It was so much fun. So I'll talk to you all soon. And that is it. Thanks, guys.